In this episode, we will be discussing financial topics, investing, the stock market. As a disclaimer, Joe and I are not financial experts, and the information we provide in this episode is solely for the purpose of entertainment. So, if you are in need of financial assistance and you would like to pursue any of the opportunities that we discuss in this episode, please see a certified financial expert and complete your own due diligence. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Unscripted Dreams podcast. If you enjoy the show and want more, please join us on Patreon for exclusive episodes and videos. If you're looking for episode clips, please check out our YouTube page at the Unscripted Dreams podcast. Enjoy the show.
Hey, as we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and the day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard to see our way through. Beyond the norm and mundane are where unscripted dreams live. Join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate and inspire our audience. So today would be the last installment of the investment series, and guess what it is? It is investing in yourself, or self-investment. Ding, 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 ding. I don't see anything being greater than putting the time or putting the effort into yourself, because at the end of the day, who are you primarily dependent upon? Hopefully it's yourself and nobody else, because there's certain things you got to get done or that you would like to see be done in your lifetime, and who's going to be the only person that can really you can count on as far as establishing whatever those dreams or aspirations may be. That would be you, yourself.
All right, Joe. So when I think about investing in yourself, I don't even think, I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
Go for it.
I don't even think we intended this to even turn into what it turned into. I really think what happened was we were thinking like, yeah, we're going to talk about crypto a little bit, and I think as we started to hit the 30-minute time frame that we set for ourselves, I think we both realized that there's no way we can do these topics justice in 30 minutes.
Not at all.
So I think in that moment we just kind of both agreed that we would take time to really put some emphasis on things and not kind of skim over things for time's sake, and really take the time to be thorough and provide some details that we usually don't have time to do in the regular 30-minute format that we provide. So when I think about investing in yourself, it's kind of like what you were saying, Joe, is, looking at the things that you want for yourself and seeing, really trying to find a way as to how you're going to get there, and really asking yourself the question, is somebody else going to get there for you? Or is this something that you have to do for yourself? And I think most of us find ourselves in a situation that, if we don't do it ourselves, then it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Because there is a level of motivation that you need. Maybe you need to be incentivized. Maybe you need to have something to work towards, a motivating factor perhaps, that incentivizes you to work towards going places that you haven't been before, and really taking things to the next level, or not even the next level, or I would say sometimes the necessary level that needs to be reached in order for you to exist in a certain place to where you're happy with your surroundings and the life that you have for yourself, and the life that you might be creating or maintaining for your family or people that you care about.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that. So when we think about self-investment, we got to start with the beginning, the basics, your foundation. So when you talk about self-investment, you always want to know what are you doing and why are you doing it. That's the key thing. You got to know what you want to do and why you want to do it. It's okay if you don't have a clue of what you want to do, but as long as you're doing something, it would at least put a limitation on things and it will help you narrow down to what exactly you don't like. Because I know what you don't like. So, you flip that, then you know what you like. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Joe. All right, Joe. So you touched on something important there. Is for the person that's out there listening to this, who's just you really trying to figure it out. You have no idea what you want to do, but like you're saying, Joe, it's important to know what you don't want to do, and sometimes that's where we start. You should start and you think about what are the things that I don't want to do, and from there, after you've eliminated all those things, you look at what remains, and maybe those are the things that you put some time into doing some research, reaching out to people. I mean, not. I mean, a lot of information is at the touch of our fingertips for the most part. So you can get even a very basic level of understanding from doing the simple search as to what it is that you want to work on. If you have absolutely no clue, if you're starting, because some people are starting for, I'm sure you're starting from square one, and you're really trying to figure it out because you may have not been given any direction whatsoever, and you are essentially you kind of just blazing your own path. And I think that is extremely difficult to. So I think that is extremely difficult to do if you don't have anybody who set an example, anybody who has provided any type of roadmap uh, for you, and you really need. I think some of us really need a kind of an instruction manual to investing in ourselves. Right.
So I just want to put like a visual, give people an opportunity to visualize things. So for to be on like a more direct path for your methodology or your level of thinking. So simply just picture yourself needing a career because you need to provide for yourself, just like anyone else or any adult, really. And say that you refuse to do construction and go on a career path of construction due to it's too much physical labor there, it's just not your thing. Then you got the other career path where you have the food industry, and that's definitely not your thing. Maybe you just don't like that. That's okay. You try healthcare, and what's probably a readily available position for you at entry level would be customer service, right? Just like in any other career path. So you try out customer service just to get a feel for the industry, how it works, how things are going. Maybe you're doing calls or customer service where maybe you're doing sales, like you're selling insurance, or maybe you're doing something where you're processing claims, but you're actually talking to the customer service and you send like a ticket where somebody just goes and fixes that. During that entry level point, and say that you do like healthcare, maybe you decide to establish and decide what you do like and what you don't like. Maybe you don't like the customer service feature of it. Maybe you want to be behind the scenes like that person that fixes those issues that the member is calling on. Or maybe you really want to go all out in healthcare and maybe you want to be a nurse or a doctor. Like these are the type of stepping steps or that you make as far as like deciding exactly where you want to be. And so when you do things like that, that's when from that point forward you start to develop values of what you like. You start to definitely inhibit strengths, whether you realize it or not. And more than likely, after a lot of time, you start winning. So winning comes with promoting. It comes with learning, opportunities to educate yourself to move forward on your career path. Everyone always starts at the bottom. No one just starts in with a leg up like that. It happens, but that window is very slim for that to happen. You have to have certain connections to get through the door to kind of skip a few steps. But even when you do skip a few steps, you're still at a disadvantage because you can't see everything full circle. So ideally, it is good to start from ground up, just because it makes it that much more clear what you want to do going forward. Does that make sense?
I'm trying to understand you right now. I'm trying to figure out what what, what just happened.
Well, I'm trying to give people a picture to paint. Like, if you're going to invest in yourself, man, that's what it takes. Like, you have to be willing to, at the beginning, take a chance on things. You know what you want to do readily, and you know what you don't want to do. So you try this career path just to see if things work out, like if something shakes. So that's literally what I just went a couple minutes through explaining. Like, you got to start somewhere, and eventually those values will be established. Those strengths will be established, and everything else just falls into place afterwards.
Okay, I kind of got you, Joe. I'm coming at it from a completely different angle. That's probably why I'm struggling. I'm struggling over here. Okay, so the way Joe explained it, that is what I would say. That's one way. All right, I have another way, and it's so investing in yourself. To me, in my opinion, it's almost out of self-preservation, because if you work in one job, and if you listen to the show enough times, you know how I feel about putting your faith in one job. If you become one-dimensional, the real issue is when you become one-dimensional. That is where you start to run into to problems, and that's why I think it's important to continually invest in yourself, because if you come up, you do this position, and you become a specialist, which is nothing wrong with being a specialist if your specialty is in demand and it's not going anywhere, and you can see the longevity of it. But if you become a specialist and something comes in to eliminate that position or to lessen that role, maybe that role gets distributed to 3 or 4 people, and you're no longer
Right.
needed because they can have people do it for cheaper. So it's I think one of the big pieces of investing in yourself is finding a way or an avenue to. There's some ways that you can make yourself a specialist in the way in which you are not easily replaced, and that is up to, I think, each of us to take a look at the work that we do and ask ourselves, how easy how easy is it for you to be replaced? What are the perspectives on your position? Is it something that 5 years from now there's going to be a need for it? 10 years from now, will people still need the service that you provide? Is your position going to potentially evolve into something else? And this is something that I believe that when we're in the thick of it and we're just going to work every day doing what we do, we don't, we're so caught in the weeds that we don't take the time to look up and see long term what is kind of coming up, what's coming next. So for someone who I guess is a specialist, depending on what you do, it's important to, I think, just do some market research on your position.
Mm-hmm.
Always put yourself in a position to receive information on the emerging trends. Whatever's coming next, you need to be there with what's coming next, because eventually what comes next is your opportunity, or it's your opportunity to get replaced. So that's what I think we need to identify when you're somebody who is a true specialist. Like, if you're a true specialist, that's something you need to look at. It's like what do we talk about, like basketball, when Steph is on the show? I think, Joe, you referenced Charles Oakley, and the conversation was that, like, hey, there's no place for him in the NBA now, because someone with his talents isn't, like, you're not needed anymore. Like, you've outgrown it. Yeah,
The
exactly.
game's changed. Yeah, the
Exactly. So
dynamics have changed.
we need to look and see we need to look and see if the game is changing and not get caught, you know, looking stupid when things change around us, and we were oblivious to the fact of what was really happening around us.
And see, I didn't get that far, but I'm glad that you broke that down, and I'm glad you mentioned one dimensional, because the way I explained it initially was one dimensional. Like, you have to start somewhere, and eventually you'll have other opportunities to do these things. I didn't get that far in the explanation, but I'm glad Marcus
Oh,
broke it down for you. But he got it anyways. I mean, he explained it in his own way. I just didn't get that far into what I was trying to say. But yeah, like, eventually, you'll have other opportunities to perfect example, you'll have other opportunities to make um, more money, more opportunities to be in better situations from your occupation and whatever else may be coming to you that you want. But it all starts with one thing. And then after that one thing, you usually end up pouring more energy into the next thing because you got comfortable or you didn't learn all you could learn in one capacity here. So what you do is you branch and you just keep learning and learning and learning, keep doing more things. That's just how it goes. Like, I have a buddy that works corporate by day, but by night, this guy builds houses. Like, he works on houses and all those type of things. That's his side hustle, and he knows that that's going to be more rewarding for him and his family, fortune, and future by doing that versus him just doing corporate. He's just doing corporate because it's just like it's like the best thing that's going for him right now because it's maintaining or supporting his aspirations to do something else. And that's literally what we're trying to get into as far as you investing in yourself. So we're just saying, like, it's okay to have your 9 to 5. Actually, I encourage that because it also keeps you on track with a lot of other things. But at the same time, keep in mind that there's other opportunities out here for you to surpass what you do from your 9 to 5 as well.
Sure. So, artificial intelligence, robots, machine learning, they are here.
They're gonna take over the world eventually.
Already here. All right, they're already here. You're already using this. We're all already using this stuff. So COVID accelerated the adoption of the work from home model. Okay, so
Yep.
one thing that I think about is when you think about like what we talked about in the last episode, we talked about the robo advisors like the M1 Finance or Betterment. Those robo advisors, that used to be a person. They used to be a
That used to be a person that made a lot of money, sometimes more money than doctors.
so like, they used to be a person, and that's a white collar job too. So I mean that's something to think about. And one thing that
Big
I'd
time.
like to add to that is if your business, the company that you work for, whoever you work for, if you're not self-employed, all that money, if the company you work for has chosen to adopt the work from home model, ask yourself, where does all that money go that is no longer being spent on a lease or buying office space or getting a building constructed for the business? Does that money go to the employees, or does it go into investing in technology to make the company run more efficiently uh, by replacing you, perhaps? So that's a lot of access funds that were freed up if you're not paying that. Now, if you're aware, if you don't own the building that you're operating your business out of, that is an expense, and it is a significant one. When you think about everything that's associated with it, with simply leasing the space and the cost of the utilities, insurance, it can get pretty costly. You get into the points where you're renegotiating the rent on the building or the lease on the building. I've had to deal with that. So it's not something that's cheap. It is a significant expense. So when that money is freed up, you have to ask yourself, like, where is that money being where where is it being invested into now that it's not being used for those purposes? And that's a good question to ask, or it's a good thing just to investigate, because that money will surely go into finding things to replace people to lower the overhead of the business, depending on what type of person you work for or what group of people that you work for. So when we look at opportunities and we look at what's coming and emerging, like, you don't get too comfortable doing what you thought was your job, which not what you thought was your job, but don't get too comfortable with, like, that things change so quickly, and that the COVID thing accelerated. It really accelerated things. I don't think we should minimize how the rate of acceleration we experienced due to COVID is in the work is the adaptation of the work from home model, because it just really, I mean, it came out of nowhere, and now there's a ton of people.
It's almost like it's almost like we fast forward like 5 or 6 years
Yeah.
down the road to the future. That's what it kind
So
of felt
if
like to
Joe
me.
says we accelerated 5 or 6 years into the future, that means for some of us, the you lost 5 or 6 years of that traditional work model if that is something that you are reliant on, depending on what you are doing. So, so that's something to keep in mind. Now,
Right.
there are some. I would say there are some jobs that I see are emerging, some opportunities that I see emerging over time. If you look at software as a service businesses, these are jobs like think about your Dropbox, Salesforce, Canva, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Office Cloud, Microsoft Office, DocuSign, and things like that. I'm sure it's something that a lot of us have used. And these are, I mean, the companies are simply built as software as a service, and there's a lot of demand for employment in these spaces, and it's getting away from that brick and mortar model. So if you are someone who works in a low skill job, and if you're a low skill job type of position, you can essentially I kind of make the correlation like you can get swapped out like old batteries, pretty much. Like it's nothing. Like it's nothing to replace you. So so if you work in one of these jobs, or especially a job where like your shift is over and then somebody else just comes in and pick up where you left off, you know, like it's not it's nothing. It's nothing. All right. So I mean, you know if that's the job you're doing. It's not a shot. It's not a shot at anybody. Those are jobs that are available. It's respectable work. It's just understanding what's the long term what's the shelf life on that type of work. How much time do we have until that work gets farmed out, or there's a machine, or artificial intelligence or something that's able to come in and do that work of a person and not have to worry about the not the initial investment, but the overhead of having to maintain an employee, pay benefits, deal with call offs, having to hire a manager to manage that employee. Um, I went to a store. I'm not gonna say the name of the store. So I hate going to this store, and I just had to go there. But I went there, and this store was pretty busy. There were so many people at this store, and I saw all the checkout lanes were closed, and all that was open was the self checkout, and they had one person overseeing like this like mass group of people just going through the self checkouts with no checkout lanes open. So, and it was pretty busy too, and that's just how they were operating at that time. So, if you're someone who works in that, like if that's what you're doing, if you're a cashier, you're working, in that capacity, just know that. I mean, you kind of see. I mean, the writing's on the wall on that one. I mean, I think there's a loss prevention component, also to having a checkout and a customer service piece to it. But I think eventually we'll get to the point to where you probably have like one or two people just overseeing a bunch of self checkouts at these stores because they make it so easy for you to scan the barcode. If you go to Home Depot, they have the scan gun for you to grab it yourself and scan the UPC. So it's not it's I think it will become more of a courtesy to have people doing that type of work, and I think that's something that if you're doing that type of work, like you're on the chopping block, and there's something that you need to like start doing today to put yourself in a position to where you don't get left behind.
Okay, so Marcus totally went with the whole scare tactic approach.
It's the truth.
I mean, he's being real, like he's being legit about it, and then that's what I love him for. He's being very transparent. But even the people that are still like super one dimensional, you still can make things happen as long as you do have a set plan. Nothing, I promise you, nothing will get in the way if you have a solid platform as far as goals and values. Because once you actually have goals and values, nothing else can really get in the way of that but you at that point. It's just a matter of when you'll get there, is simply what I'm saying. So, the only thing I could really provide to you as far as advice from that standpoint is it's very important once you get to a certain level of establishment where you've been established in your career is to master your craft. I'm not saying that you have to, but I think that it would be in your best interest to do so by mastering your craft, whatever that may be. You probably hear it a lot, but I'm dead serious. Master your craft, man. That's what's really gonna take you to the next level in so many areas and in so many ways. So when you start challenging yourself, that's when you start bringing out things you never knew existed. So I encourage that, because when that happens, you're going to be looking for the next best thing. And then guess what? You repeat the cycle all over again, because you're not going to stick to just one passion. You're going to find many things that you're passionate about. And it's going to be the same process over and over again, where you're going to have to reestablish your goals, your values, get some education, go through a few experiences, and then you master your craft. And that's what it's all about, is being all you can be. I'm not trying to sound like a militant guy or anything like that, but be all you can be. And that's really what life is about from my point of view.
Yeah, so there's a movie, No Country for Old Men, and I think about Tommy Lee Jones's character. And if you're not familiar
Okay.
with the movie, I mean, Tommy Lee Jones was an cop, older cop. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones has been old as long as I've been alive. He's like a who else has always been old since like Morgan Freeman. He's always been as long as I've been alive. Yeah,
James Earl
these are people who have been
Jones.
old since I've been as long as I've been alive. But no, this is Tommy Lee Jones. He plays this cop, and there's this serial killer that just like out of nowhere with this vacuum pump just starts like just creating havoc. And Tommy Lee Jones he's always like one or two steps behind, and he's just so out of it. Like it gets to the point in the movie. I mean, this movie's like over 10 years old. I mean, probably almost 15 years old now. But it gets to the point where I think he gets into a scuffle with this guy or something. He just gets away. He just eludes him, and he can't catch him. He can overpower him. He's just completely outmatched. He's completely outmatched. And I think he goes home. He sits down at his table, at like his kitchen table or something, takes his hat off, and he's just like, I'm done. He's like, I'm done, because he couldn't. It wasn't. And what was unique about this movie is that people weren't happy with the ending, because it wasn't your typical ending. It was really a story about somebody who just like their time. It was over. Like his time to do what he was doing was done, and that was him running up against this guy, this serial killer, was the signal that let him know that the game has changed, and it's too late. It's too late for you, man. So I think that's kind of reflective of you're just going about your business, and you think everything's going to be what it is, until one day something comes along and it just like completely bowls you over, and I mean, and if we refer to the movie, I mean, you just kind of fold. You just kind of fold, and you realize, like, hey man, good game, and that's really it. So I mean, I think we want to avoid those situations. If we're using foresight, and we're kind of looking at like not getting so caught up in what is now, and always having a mind to look into the future and see what opportunities will be presented to us in the future, and what opportunities. I mean, we just talked about opportunities. It'll be like a month before this episode comes out, but no, that's something that I think that definitely applies in this case, and that's just a good reference, because I like to throw movies in there. And welcome back.
Welcome back.
We're still going.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, so that's a good story right there, Marcus. I appreciate you for
yeah.
sharing that. I don't think people gonna catch on to that one,
Yes,
but
they will.
we'll see how good I'm
Yes, they will. Dummies here, man. Uh,
Well, I think with investing in yourself, man, I feel like we all manifest what we want to do, and we have an idea of how we want to do things. And guess what the number one step is? It's really just putting in the effort, really. That's the hardest part. I wouldn't tell you anything different. The beginning's always the hardest part, and once you actually establish some routine or something, everything else is kind of like smooth sailing, man, because you're locked into what you're doing at that point, or should be anyways, if you're going to be 100% in whatever you're doing. So I think with you investing in yourself, and knowing that about investing in yourself, you know, I, I just think that it's just, I mean, it's self-explanatory. Like, like if you're gonna do it big, man, you know, you got to plan that out. You might not know exactly how it's gonna go.
Yeah, and so I just like to give a definition to what, like, would you say, Joe? You gotta, would you say you gotta work hard and stuff and things like that?
You got to put
Yeah.
in effort. Effort is half the
So
battle.
effort. Okay, so effort is one of those terms where, you know, like, like I've seen somebody do a lot of nothing and say, Marcus, I gave a good effort, and I said, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. And if that's the bar, if that's the bar for you trying hard, I don't want to work with you because so you might think that you're giving good effort. You might really think that. So when you are putting in effort, I think we should ask ourselves, who are we comparing ourselves to? Sometimes you can't compare yourself to anybody, but like, where are you at? Where are you at with things? Is your effort getting, like, are you hitting the marks with your effort, or do you continue to fall short, consistently fall short? And that's the thing with effort is it's like if I went to the gym and I told myself, I want to learn how to shoot free throws, and then I shot 25 shots and missed 20 of them, and then I come home and I say, like, yeah, I tried, I shot 25 shots. Like, I'm calling that low effort, like very low effort. Like, sure, it falls in the category of effort, but that's poor effort. So I mean, you have to be. I think with effort, when it comes to effort, I mean, we really have to be mindful of what we consider effort and giving things a shot. If you're out here trying to run a business and you thought that running a business you're just gonna be able to get that thing up and running in 3-4 months, good luck. Good luck if you think for like 3-4 months is going to do it, because it takes time. It takes a lot of time to do these things, and you have to set the bar for what. We do set our own individual bar for what effort is for us, but don't say, like, yeah, I got up and you looking for a job and you look for a job for 30 minutes and you say, well, I tried. I say, you tried for 30 minutes. What is that really doing? What is that really, what is that really doing? 30 minutes.
That's not even putting a dent in anything
So that's poor
whatsoever.
effort. Don't lie to yourself. If you're not trying and you're not working hard enough, you're not putting the effort, and be honest with yourself and find a way to give more effort. Find a way to kind of hack yourself. Like, just fool yourself into making you give more and more effort. Find a way to put in a reinforcer, or something to get yourself to the point to where you're putting forth at least a decent amount of effort, and
Right. I'm not fat shaming by any ways, means necessary, but what he's saying is you can't be that guy that weighs 500 or 600 pounds and then you do one sit up and you say, oh, I'm good. That's all I got. Nah, bruh. You got to do more work than that to get that weight up off you. And the same thing applies. Like, why do you think there's not so many successful people? Because a lot of people, um, maybe that's not the right thing. There are a lot of successful people, but compared to the have-nots, there's more have-nots than has-beens or people that are doing it. And the people that are really doing what they want to at their own leisure, they had to make a lot of sacrifices. And one of those sacrifices was not wasting their time. So, so, with that being said, they had a lot of late nights and early mornings. That's not always true, but depending on what business you're in and how good you are at it, um, those are some of the sacrifices. And time is a big one right there. Until you get a good routine down, you got a good team behind you, and you guys are moving. At any moment, you can always work towards something. and preferably something you would like, of course. But at least you would not be sitting on the sidelines thinking, I should have did this, I could have did this, or I would have done this if it wasn't for this, that, and the third. Nobody ever wants to be that person, and to be honest with you, that gives me midlife crisis vibes. But in this today's generation, you might mess around and have a quarter life crisis. Just because of how strict society is, there's a lot more pressure on people nowadays at a younger age. So that's why I call it a quarter life crisis. But but I mean, it's real stuff. I went through those type of things, and I'm just speaking from experience. Like, sometimes you really have to really do a lot of things you don't want to do just to get to where you want to be, and that's all part of self-investment. You gotta, one, fight self-identity. That's the most important thing. Two is establishing something that you really want to do, and the third thing is executing on it. After that, manifest, collect.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just know it's not always that easy. So I always try to think.
It's
So I always
not.
try to think about. I just always try to think about the roadblocks, and there's a lot of distractions out here. A lot, a lot. They're everywhere. Mostly they're in your pocket and on your phone. Uh, but we you I think we have to be mindful of the things that we allow into our lives that serve as distractions from us doing what we need to do. A lot of times I think we find ourselves escaping, finding ways to kind of escape our reality. Sometimes I think that's a big piece because if you're not happy, sometimes instead of working to get yourself out of that hole, you just want to escape it. You just want to escape it. But then when you whatever you're doing to escape that activity, whether that's like going out with friends, sitting down watching movies, or any sort of substances, or whatever, that might be, after all that, the effect of all those things wear off, you going right back to the grind that you hate, right back to the grind. So you escaped it temporarily, and then you didn't do anything to fix your situation. You didn't do anything. You just gave yourself. You really essentially try to press pause. You just want to press pause for a little bit, take a bathroom break, and then come back, and then you still playing the same game, playing the same game. So, like I was saying, like it's not that easy, and I think we have to find ways and opportunities to be more productive in certain aspects of our lives. There's a lot of things that create a lot of challenges for people. If you have kids, I don't have kids, but everybody I see who has kids, I can't have a conversation with them without them redirecting their kids, telling them to do something or stop fighting or breaking up some sort of issue or feeding them something. We chase these kids around constantly. I mean, I don't even know how you get anything done really. So that I think is like a big obstacle for parents, and really trying to find ways to make things work and find time for yourself, because I think there's a time that we do need to recharge, to get our mind right, to maintain our sanity, but you find yourself you're always like treading water. You're trying to gain some momentum, but you can't because you're always interrupted, so you can't get into any kind of stride, and that's where I think it comes into play, like finding a little bit of time, like making the most. It's almost like you dig in, like you kind of tell yourself like, hey, I'm already miserable, so let me just lock in and make it. It's gonna be a little bit worse for a little while, and then maybe I'll dig myself out of this hole where I'm like very unhappy, because like the distractions and taking the breaks, like all that does sometimes. And I'm an advocate for taking a break, but sometimes it's just a time to lock in and get stuff done. And you're tired all the time. I can tell you right now, every day I'm tired. Like I fall asleep doing research, dropping the phone on my face. Like I'm tired, but it's it's not like it's just that time right now for me to lock in and get stuff done. And it's not about worrying about people want to have a conversation with you. I was having a conversation with somebody. I mean, I don't even think we were really having a conversation. They're more so talking to me, and I'm so focused. on what I'm working on right now. I didn't really have anything to say because it was probably just some silly stuff. It's more so nonsense. There's things I don't really care about that really don't serve a purpose. And it was, and then it was like you come off as being rude and things like that. But like when you're focused and you have a vision for something, like you got to work on it. You got to grind out. I mean, I remember there's this thing, something Eric Thomas. He was giving this speech or something, and he was talking about, and I listened to this probably years ago, and he was talking about, sometimes you get to the point to where you working on stuff so much, people don't invite you out, people don't even talk to you, and things like that. Like they don't even want to be around you. And I think in certain circles, I've become that person, and I'm okay with that, because sometimes it's what's necessary. It's not what you want to do. It becomes what's necessary for you to elevate your life, to get out of a situation where you're unhappy, and you can't sit there and sulk about it. And I think that's why it's important that when you have a good day, that you do as much positive things you can do to work towards your goal. Because that good day needs to carry you through all those bad days, and those good days they need to give you hope. They need to give you hope to pull you through that chain of garbage that you have to deal with, the pain that you have to deal with, sitting there going to that same job that you don't like, having to deal with the same problems that you've had for years. So, there's just sometimes you have to make an adjustment, and the quality of your life might decrease significantly for a few months, maybe a year. But when you come out of it, maybe you'll be in a better place to where for the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life, you'll be in a place where you can at least have a shot at having peace and not having to deal with the same stuff for the rest of your life. So, take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. You have to go out. Sometimes you have to find opportunities. You have to create opportunities. Sometimes you have to present things just because somebody has a job offer open. All right. So after all these technical difficulties that we've been having, we're going to end this episode. All right. So what we are going to do, because we said a lot on here, but we are going to continue the conversation on our Patreon. We definitely provided what we both believe are some quality insights over these past 3 episodes. So what we'll do on Patreon is I'll wrap up the back end of this and everything that we had here, which is just a little bit extra. But then I also wanted to go into some of the investment information that we come across, some resources, some people that we use to get some of our information, and some other things that we're working on as well. So thanks for listening to this string of episodes, and this one's hopefully not too choppy, but we appreciate you taking the time to listen to it. So as usual, take care, be safe. Gapstone